Introducing new fish to the tank, it's really good to start with free swimming fish that are not going to hide all the time, because just be aware that some fish will hide a lot, like the clown loach. He'll hide a lot during the day. Any sort of plecostomus or gibbicep will tend to hide a lot during the day, because it's very disappointing when you first buy a fish tank and then the first fish you get are hiders, because you sit there like pissed off that you can't see them. But then as the tank gets more established and as you get more fish and as it gets nice and busy, it's actually really nice to have some fish that hide, because then when your clown loach comes out, you suddenly get really excited because you don't see them all the time. And even something like a synodontis or an upside down cat would be nice in this tank, because once again, you get some fish that hide a fair bit. That way when they actually come out, you get all excited. Any reason to be excited is a good reason. And make sure your lights are not on too much, because if your lights on too much, you end up with algae. So you can go and put the fake plants back, top the tank back up. In this case, when we top the tank back up, we're only going to add water ager. He's a very attractive person, that one. Look at him. And anyway, we're only going to add water ager because our GH and KH are actually quite good. So now let's add the plants back in time. So we'll just talk you through what's involved with servicing this aquarium. There was a lot of ornaments and fake plants in this aquarium which have come out for the service. We're also going to introduce some new fish. So what we've done is going to slowly introduce water from the aquarium into the bucket so the fish can acclimatise to the bucket. And away we go. Fish are looking nice and healthy. Some beautiful little fellas in here. This is a little Julidachromis regale. And there's some silver sharks, tri-spot barbs, a spotted silver dollar, and there's a striped silver dollar in here somewhere. I think he's my favourite. He is a beautiful little fish. Little Tanganyikan cichlid with a lot of personality. Okay, so now these fish have been acclimatised, so we can pour them into the tank now, which I'll just go and do. Go and put them into the tank. It is important we acclimatise the fish so the temperature and pH in the bucket, they slowly get used to the aquarium. Then we can pop the fish in and then they're nice and happy. So we never want to dump the fish in, otherwise if the parameters of the aquarium are any different, Durko, do you want to dump them in? We tip them in the tank. Nice and gently. Yep. Beautiful. So it's important that you have catfish for cleaning your algae, and different catfish like different algae too. So in here we've got a plecostomus, we've got a little Corydoras, and he'll be good for cleaning the scraps. We've got a clown loach now, and then we've also got some Siamese algae eaters, because they like to go for sort of the blackbeard algae. So having a range of different catfish help you to make sure you don't get too much algae. And then here is my Crebensis, who is a very beautiful fish. I grew him up in my tank at home, but he may be a homosexual because he didn't want to breed with my beautiful female. So I'm going to replace him because he will be very happy swimming around this tank. And then I will put a new male in my tank, and hopefully this male will identify as a male and will like females, because I'd like to have mine breed. First thing I like to do whenever I service an aquarium is clean the glass. So we're going to go like this, give it a little cleany clean. This glass is already clean, and give the water a good test. Now the water that I need to test, I'm going to test the pH, which is going to be the acidity of the water. I'm going to check the KH. The KH will help to stabilize the pH. The NO2, which is nitrite. The NO3, which is nitrate. Probably won't bother checking the CO2 because there's no plants in this tank. I might check the GH and definitely check the ammonia. Check whether the gravel is dirty. I'm not expecting it to be heaps dirty because it's a new tank. There's not a lot of fish and the fish are fed very good quality foods. If you feed a lot of bad quality food, you'll find that gravel is very dirty. Whereas if you feed a high quality food, something like Spectrum's probiotics, you will notice that the gravel is a lot cleaner. So what we're going to do now is just start a siphon down to the bucket like this. Then what we're going to do is push this into the gravel, and see here, there actually is a fair bit of junk coming out. So just get a close up of that. See all that crap? Alright. So this is just doing a vacuum. Like this. And every time that you do a water change, you want to be using this thing, because what that will do is suck all the dirty water out, because I'm really against just doing a water change with nice clean water off the top, because otherwise you just take the nice clean water off the top and put in nice clean water. The only way you're going to get out all the crap is to use this little device, which is a gravel cleaner. It might look a lot like something you'd find under your dad's bed in the 80s. And you just use this to clean your fish tank, and you can see that's nice and clean. You can see that the power head is starting to suck air bubbles, that's why it's getting noisy. And I'll just turn that off and away we go. Okay. Having a big filter is that you don't have to clean it very often. Now, one of the main indicators of how often you need to clean your filter is how well your filter is shooting out. Now, if your filter is shooting out very powerfully like this, that means it's really not very important that you clean your filter. Over time, if the filter starts to clog, you'll notice that outlet, you'll notice it not pouring out so well. And if it's not pouring out so well and you don't notice the water shooting out so good, then it's time to clean your filter. And that's another reason why it's very important that however you have your filter, however it's set up, you need to have it set up that you can clearly see the surface agitation and you can clearly see how well it's pumping. Because if it's not pumping very well, then it's time to give the filter a clean. And the other thing to be aware of is that the water that's coming out of the filter is often in oxygen deficit, because the filter is going to grow lots of good bacteria, and the good bacteria that grows in the filter that's going to break down the waste from the fish is going to require oxygen. Now, this tank is great because it has an air stone and a power head for surface agitation, not just the filter. Where you have to be careful is when you just have a filter, because if you just have a filter, the oxygen that comes out of the filter can be quite low, and that can affect your pH, and that can affect what's called the redox potential of the water. Now, the redox potential of the water is how well can the bacteria in the filter work. So if you have high redox, because you've got nice high oxygen levels, then your redox potential works very well, which means your bacteria grows very fast, which means your bacteria is very efficient. If you don't have good surface agitation on the top, then your dissolved oxygen level will go down and your redox potential will go down, and then your bacteria works very slowly. And if the bacteria is working very slowly, breaking the ammonia into nitrite and the nitrite into nitrate, that means you have to grow more bacteria. And if you grow more bacteria, then that means that you need more bacteria. And the more bacteria you have, the more the oxygen in the filter is going to get sucked out, because the more bacteria you have in your filter, the more oxygen it will suck out. So it's a big spiral that goes down and ends up with dead fish. So you want to make sure that your filter is agitating the surface, and make sure that you have extra aerators to make sure that you have very good, nice dissolved oxygen level. Then you'll have nice, healthy fishies like this one. Make sure you always use the best biological filter material with parallel nitrifying and denitrifying bacteria. If your aquarium water is not completely crystal clear, there are various products that you'll find work absolutely amazing. Now, these products will polish your water and make it absolutely crystal clear. So it's absolutely worth experimenting with these products, and do make sure that you understand that when they are exhausted, you chuck them out and chuck a new one in. You will be surprised how much it lowers your maintenance in general, and how many fish it does allow you to keep, and what a safeguard it is if something does go wrong, to have a product like this in the water that polishes the water. It really helps to safeguard you against a lot of problems. When you do water changes is how dirty your water is. So if you use a gravel cleaner like this and you suck the water out of the gravel and it comes out very dirty, the dirtier that water is, the more often you should do water changes. So once again, I will only do a water change using a gravel cleaner. I'll never suck the good water out of the top. And then how dirty that water is will just give me an indication about how often I'm doing a water change. If this is really dirty, then it should be water changed more often. If you do it and this is pretty clean, then you could certainly do it less often. And once again, quality of food is a really big thing. So Denichi is a very good food, and so is Spectrum's probiotics, which is what's in there. Now this water out of your fish tank, assuming it's freshwater tank, is quite good for your garden because it's full of fish nutrients that your garden loves. But if you have a saltwater tank or high salty water tank, maybe it's not so good for the garden. Standard freshwater tank, particularly plant tank, this is very good for the garden. Now when you're doing a gravel clean like this to do your water change, it's really important every now and then to get underneath your rocks. So it's good to do a little bit of a spring clean, which is move your rocks out of the side, go and clean underneath the rocks, then put all your rocks back again, and then next time maybe do that side. But it's good to systematically clean the back of the aquarium. And it's good to, when your ornaments start to look a bit Bob's your uncle, then it's good to take this out, put it in the sun, and the sun will dry up all of the algae on it. Then hit it with a hose, flip it over, hit it, let it dry up in the sun again, and then while you're down there, and then
you fucking dream, bro. Dreamer.
I sure can dream. Now, if you're going to add water to your aquarium, there's no problem with the freshwater aquarium like this, adding it with the hose. But what you got to be aware of is every sort of 5 centimeters as you go up, you need to redose a full dose of water ager. Otherwise, you can end up with chlorine in the water. Now, if you're only doing a small top up because of evaporation, you shouldn't need any of the KH or GH, usually definitely not KH, sometimes GH, according to the test. Then what we're going to do is let the water go up a bit and then put in a nice generous squirt of this. And that's going to get rid of any chlorine in the water. As it goes up another 5 centimeters, we put in another squirt. Now, you don't want to do that if you're going to do like a half water change, because a half water change, you're going to risk putting in too much chlorine or chloramone. And if there's a lot of chlorine and chloramone in your tap water when you do the change, it could kill your fish. Then you might do it again the next week and have absolutely no problem, because it's very common that there's different levels of chlorine and chloramone in the tap at different times, depending on what's going on with the water. It's also really important that every time you're filling your tank up, to stand around and watch it, because I can't tell you how easy it is to answer your mobile phone or answer the door or go and do a poo or something that actually takes longer than you expect. And then you forget that your tank's filling up and you come back to the lounge room with water on the floor, which is not always great. Now, it's really important when you finish your service to check all the power points, because I cannot tell you how easy it is to finish your service and forget to plug your filter back in or forget to plug your heater back in. And this is particularly a problem if you're servicing your tank of a Sunday afternoon and you're smashing a few beers while you're cleaning your fish tank, and then by the time you're finished getting distracted and answering phone calls, doing a poop, and then realizing that you get pretty drunk by the time you finish cleaning your tank. And just be very careful, because if you are going to get drunk and clean your tank, it's very fun, but you want to make sure that you do things like turn your power points back on, because I have had many people that have forgotten to switch their power point back on. Beautiful. The water's cleared up beautifully already. And these are very, very nice tanks, these Aquael Glossies. That is a very attractive aquarium. Very nice.